Hey guys, listen, something big has happened to me this week, and for those who may know me or not, this is big news for me. I've read another book. I think it's time to talk. Yeah, no, welcome back, by the way. For those who do know me, it is a big feat, the fact that I have been reading a book this week, because, I don't know, it's one of those things where I haven't been really an avid reader that much in my life. You know, discounting the fact that the rest of my family are huge readers. I mean, each one has their own library, for God's sake. But I have been reading again, but this new one, which I've been reading, is called Armada, by the very popular Ernest. For those who may be reminded of a previous video I did, that was the same man who did Ready Player One as well as the movie. And you know my review on that. You can look back if you want to. But when I first picked up the book, Ready Player One last year, I thought it'd be quite interesting to have a look at his bibliography, and quite thankfully he only has 2 books, which was very useful. So I decided to read his second book, which was called Armada, which sort of has the same themes right now. Right now, this is a non-spoiler review for the minute, whilst I get into the spoiler review and then go into the actual topic at hand, because I like this sort of dynamic where I do a bit of a review and it goes into an area that I like to talk about. So, first of all, for those who haven't read the book, Ernest Cline's Armada. Now, it's mainly about somewhat the same as Ready Player One in that it is about a video game. In the sense of, it's about a kid named Zach Lightman. Yeah, I know. Zach Lightman, what a name. Who is in class, he's a normal high school kid from Beaverton, don't laugh, and he looks up the window one morning and he sees a spaceship that freaks him out. He's entirely amazed, but not only that, it's a spaceship from his favourite video game. Because now that's sort of the main thing right now. It's an alien invasion thing mixed with video games, which is, from what I've read now, Ernest Cline's best work. Trying to mix the nerd stuff as well as the real life things, trying to make the average kid a hero. And short in terms of my little preference to it, I liked the book. I thought it was really good. It's not Ready Player One. I mean, Ready Player One was its own little dynamic of virtual reality, trying to find something completely new that none of us had ever thought before. This one, the premise is sort of not new. It's something that has happened before if you watch previous movies, which even in the book he makes light of the fact that it's quite familiar. But I thought it was very good, the idea of trying to make it a book for gamers, especially something where, the idea that gaming is not something that's just for a small class of people, or at least for nerds. It's something that everyone has. And I like the fact that, that Zach in this book, the kid, is not nerd, or he's nerdy, but not, needy or desperate as Wade Watts was in Ready Player One. He's not someone who is shy about people, who reserved everything else, but he actually has friends. He has someone who he meets. He has a crush on someone named Alexis, who if you do read the book, I highly recommend. She's smart and amazing from the look of it on paper. The main plot of it is the sense of what would happen if a game that you've known all your life suddenly was actually real, in the sense of what the plot was, who the threat was, and who the defense was actually real. That it was something that, imagine if Halo was something where all the aliens and that were actually real, and the government was just keeping that up. It was covering that up for years, and suddenly you realize that you have to join the fight, and the only way you can do that is by playing the actual game, which is so stupid, but it's actually fun and worth the reading. Now, my little knick-knacks, or at least something I've noticed now reading his 2 books, Ernest Cline, is that he's an author that requires a lot of explanation in the sense of it. I mean, because it's not a big read. It's only about 340 pages, I think. Is it? Yeah. I just looked at the book now and suddenly remembered. But it is one where it's a bit slower than Ready Player One, but that was because Ready Player One had a bit more of a bigger dynamic in it. He had to explain some things. But this one, I mean, a lot of it is Ernest Cline having to, I feel justify himself. It's one of those books where he has to explain why being a gamer isn't just a nerdy thing, especially about how he has to explain about the games themselves, about the scoring, about all the friends he has, about his issues with his his dead father, which I'm not going to go into until the spoilers bit. But I mean, it's something where I like the fact that he does explain it, a little bit, but I do wish he would sort of minimalize it a little bit. I mean, because when you get to the first few pages, you sort of understand he has to explain details about people and stuff. But when he goes on and on and on, it's a little bit much, and the book doesn't really get incredibly interesting until about, I don't know, the last quarter of it, when stuff actually happens. Because I was going into this book thinking like, oh, it's a major space epic, it's a major alien versus humans thing. But a bit of it is there, but it's not the whole story. A lot of it is about this kid who has to realize that what he thought of was a pastime, or an obsession at least, has turned out to be something bigger than he ever imagined. That something that he thought was, stupid, ended up being the one thing that could save humanity. And it also questions the idea of what we view in pop culture in terms of real life, in terms of what we think could happen and what aliens would think of. But, hold on, because now, that's my little review of the book right now, much non-spoiler bit. So now, here's the spoiler bit. In this one, it is the basic premise of the idea of, there are two games in this named Armada and Terra Firma. One's with drones, one's with Terminator droids. And the whole point of it is that for the last 40 years or so, there's been a government conspiracy that aliens have been real, on one of Jupiter's moons, and the world has been covering up for the people by influencing them with Star Wars, with Star Trek, with any video game, TV, movie that shows us and influences us what aliens should look like. And also, it releases these two games as simulations, which is incredibly weird, because you look at that and you think, okay, why would you use a video game to do that? That's such a stupid idea, but it worked for them. But it's also it also goes more into Zack learning about how he has to control his anger, because he has an anger problem, because apparently that's a thing. You have father issues, which that's also a thing when he finds out that his dad's been alive and been working for this organization called the EDA, Earth Defense Alliance, for the last 40 years to try and save humanity. It deals with that. It deals a little bit about the sacrifices that a lot of people have to deal with if they're worried about aliens. But what I also like about it, and it also brings us up to my topic, which is aliens, which is that it questions the idea of what we would think of them if suddenly aliens attacked. Because that's a bit of a problem. Because one of the things in the book that it ponders is that 40 years ago we somehow angered them, and they've been gearing up ever since, trying to build up their defenses in order to attack Earth. And somehow, we managed to get one of their drones. We somehow managed to, what's the word? I can't remember now. But it's that thing where we kidnap one of their drones and we re-engineer it to suit our needs, and then we now have an armada. And it begs the question in the book, which is why don't they just kill us already? Why did they wait 40 years in order to do this, for us to build up our defenses? This seems too unreal. It seems like a movie, which I like about that, because that does bring up the idea of aliens and all that. Because I've always had the understanding that with aliens that we have only been communicating, sending signals, doing the stupid setting up probes and stuff only for the last 2 centuries or so. We haven't done that much in order to get actual contact, because why would we? We're one speck in a huge universe that we have no idea about, or at least know very little about. But because for those who are wondering whether do I believe in aliens or not, I believe in the scientific version of it, which is that by laws of nature, aliens have to exist, because nature does not create something once. It's like they're trying to ascertain is there only one type of beetle? No, there's millions. Was there only one type of human? No, because there were Neanderthals before us. The idea that there can't just be one kind of Earth with one star system that only inhabits its life. May not be intelligent life, as far as we know, but that can't be an impossibility. There has to be alien life everywhere, or at least if there has to be this evidence of it somehow that we know. But that doesn't mean I believe in the whole flying saucers, or at least the idea of people being abducted now, because I've always had a little joke of because since Roswell, the idea of it's been 60 years since we've had alien contact. Surely they know enough about us by now. It's been 60 odd years. How much more do they effing know about humans that we don't already know themselves? But I love the idea that the book details, which is that you can't just put human ideas onto aliens, or the idea that an alien might use that to their advantage. You know, because the whole point being is that at the end of it, the whole Armada thing was a test to see how humans would cope with an actual alien invasion that they're suited with. Because we've always had the assumption that aliens are evil, that they're just going to randomly send a huge armada and they're going to attack and kill us. But somehow we're able to overcome it due to our vast technology, which we don't have. If any alien actually does bring along a huge armada to us now, we'd be dead. Or at least we would surrender extremely quickly. But I mean, the thing about aliens is that I like the idea of at least trying to look out there, because I don't believe in the idea that we're just alone in the universe. Or at the very least, I'm always not a defeatist with that idea of just, even if somehow we don't find them, then it's going to take us thousands of years before we even have a chance to meet anyone else by the time the human race will be dead. Which I would think that's a bit defeatist. I always think that, like, if aliens don't come to us, why don't we go to them? Why don't we be the ones who actually spread out, go beyond the solar system, who end up actually meeting another planet that has no idea about this, and we become the actual alien visitors, like Close Encounters or E.T., that lands and show them what we have to offer. Yeah? Because I always think that, like, humans don't always have to be the inferior ones that gets visited by, extraterrestrial beings that somehow have more power than us, even though that's what the book does, which again I do recommend reading. But it's one of those things where, like, why not make it us? Aliens in my own account are real, in the sense of, like, they could be worms or bacteria on another planet that I have no vast idea about. But the idea that in some strange sense of form, what we have on this earth is not just on this earth, that something is actually out there, isn't just, like, big news to me. It would be something there that I think would be quite impressive. And, that's a small-handed topic I wanted to do with the review I have. But that's so alright. In terms of the book, it is by Ernest Cline. I do recommend people actually read this. It is a good book. It's not long. It only took me a week, which for a slow reader, that is a lot for me. Coming from a family that reads about a book in 2 days, and ones that are a lot bigger than this. So that's what I've been doing for the last week or so. If you want to see more reviews like this, or see a bit more topics that I have that are more broad in the sense, like and subscribe hopefully to this channel. And also, I have a new video on my other channel, Bridget and Chris, where we went round to Portobello Road to have a bit of a drink, where we had our random talks there. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.